There's a belief many of us grew up treating as absolute truth. True love conquers all. One kiss is enough, and the right person always shows up at exactly the right moment. Disney taught us that. But Studio Ghibli sees love in a completely different way, quieter, slower. And when you actually start comparing the two approaches side by side, you realize that you may have been shaped by ideas about love that have very little to do with reality. Today we are going to do something a little different. We are not just going to compare two animation studios. We are going to go deeper than that. We are going to break down two radically opposing philosophies of love, understand what each one says about human relationships, and ask ourselves honestly, which one actually prepares us to love and be loved, and which one has maybe been misleading us without meaning to all along. Because by the time we have worked through all of this, you will not look at your own relationships the same way again. Let's start with Disney. And let's be clear, nobody tells a romantic love story quite like Disney. From the first swell of the orchestra, you know exactly what you're in for. Disney love stories are built on grand gestures and an unshakable belief that true love overcomes everything. Take Snow White. It's Disney's first film, and it's the template for everything that came after. Snow White meets her prince for maybe 30 seconds. She sings a song by a wishing well, and that's it. The entire relationship literally depends on a single kiss, the one that brings her back to life after the poisoned apple. What's fascinating about this setup is its absolute narrative efficiency. The prince doesn't even need a character arc. He doesn't even have a name. He exists purely as the solution to Snow White's problem. Evil stepmother, true love's kiss. Poisoned apple, true love's kiss. The message couldn't be clearer. Love is salvation, and the right person can fix everything that's broken in your life. But here's what never actually happens in Snow White. They never really talk to each other. They never learn anything about the other person's dreams, fears, or habits. The film suggests that love is instant recognition. You'll just know when you meet the one, and everything else is unnecessary detail. The Little Mermaid takes that formula and cranks it to the extreme. Ariel falls in love with Eric after watching him for a few minutes from the surface of the water. Without ever having spoken to him, she trades her voice, her actual identity, for legs and a shot at romance. What's both beautiful and deeply concerning about Ariel's story is the sheer scale of what she is willing to sacrifice for someone she has never once had a conversation with. The film frames this as romantic dedication. But it is also saying something else, something more unsettling. It says that love means fundamentally transforming yourself to fit into someone else's world. Ariel literally gives up her voice, the most distinctly her part of herself, to pursue a romance with a stranger. Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty. It's the same dynamic. Couples who barely know each other, and we are asked to believe in eternal love simply because the music swells at the right moment and the animation is gorgeous. To be fair, Disney has evolved, and that deserves to be acknowledged. Tangled is one of the best examples of that evolution. Flynn and Rapunzel actually get to know each other. There's real banter, real tension, real chemistry that builds over a shared adventure. And crucially, both of them genuinely change as people. Flynn stops being a selfish, self-serving thief. Rapunzel gains confidence and independence in her freedom. It's still Disney magic, but with actual character development underneath it. The Princess and the Frog goes even further. Tiana and Naveen start out as total opposites who genuinely do not like each other. Their love grows through conflict, compromise, and a mutual learning of respect. Naveen has to earn Tiana's affection by becoming genuinely responsible. Tiana learns to balance her ambition with joy. These are real relationship dynamics. But even in these more nuanced films, Disney's core narrative DNA stays the same. Love as an instant, transformative force. obstacles as external forces that love defeats, and happily ever after as the ultimate destination. Disney stories end at the moment the couple comes together, not at the moment they have to learn how to stay together, not at the moment they have to choose each other, despite exhaustion, routine, and deep disagreement. And that's where Disney, for all its genius as a storyteller, leaves us with an idea of love that looks more like fireworks than a steady flame. Now step into Studio Ghibli's world, and the moment you do, the very definition of love shifts beneath your feet. Miyazaki's films are not stories about finding the one. They are stories about the countless ways human beings can matter to each other, and how truly caring for someone changes who you are at a fundamental level. Spirited Away is Ghibli's most famous film, and it might contain one of the most subtle and stunning depictions of love ever put on screen. The relationship between Chihiro and Haku develops entirely in the margins of a larger story. It is never the main focus. The film never pauses to ask, are they in love, or are they going to end up together? Instead, it shows two people who desperately want to help each other survive, grow, and find happiness. What makes their bond so powerful is that it is built entirely on mutual rescue and a profound recognition of each other. Haku helps Chihiro remember her own name, the most fundamental act of helping someone return to themselves. Chihiro helps him remember his true identity as the Kohaku River. Their love, and I believe it is love even if the film never labels it that way, exists in the space between friendship and romance. It is defined not by what they are to each other, but by what they do for each other. Their goodbye is heartbreaking precisely because it is not about promises or future reunions. It is about two people who changed each other's lives, and who are simply expressing gratitude for that gift. The Wind Rises goes even further into the territory of adult love. Jiro and Naoko's relationship might be Ghibli's most mature exploration of romantic love altogether. Their connection is built on tiny moments, sharing a book on a train, drawing together in the countryside. The quiet intimacy of domestic life, Jiro working while Naoko sleeps beside him. What makes their love devastating is that it exists in the shadow of Naoko's tuberculosis, at a time when the disease was often a death sentence. Miyazaki does not use her illness as a plot obstacle to overcome, Disney style. Instead, he shows how love can persist in the face of inevitable loss. Jiro does not save Naoko. He cannot. They simply choose to love each other as fully as possible in the time they have. This is love as acceptance of impermanence. Profound not despite the fact that it cannot last, but precisely because of it. It is the most real, raw, and human depiction of love you will find in any animated film. Princess Mononoke offers another striking example. The relationship between Ashitaka and San is one of the most mature in all of animation. They meet as enemies and never stop disagreeing on fundamental things. But what grows between them is not romance in the Disney sense. It is something deeper, genuine respect, and authentic care. They save each other's lives. More importantly, they listen to each other without trying to change each other's core beliefs. And the ending, which bothers some viewers, is actually perfect. They do not end up together. Miyazaki leaves us to imagine what might exist between them in the future, which makes complete sense given how different their lives are. Their love does not erase their differences. It honors them. They love each other because of their differences, not in spite of them. And then there is Ghibli's defining couple, Howl and Sophie. Both of them start out broken in different ways. He is vain and cowardly. She is convinced she is worthless. Their relationship is not built on the idea of completing each other. It is built on the idea of helping each other heal. Sophie's curse forces her to find her own inner strength. Howl's vanity gradually gives way to genuine care for others. It is deeply imperfect, and it is beautiful precisely because it is. She navigates his dramatic meltdowns and slowly helps him stop running from his responsibilities, while his love for her gives her the self-confidence and self-worth she needs to begin breaking the curse. What I also love about their relationship is how it radiates outward. The Witch of the Waste, who starts as a terrifying antagonist, ends up welcomed into their makeshift family. Calcifer, Markle, even Howl's moving castle itself become part of that community, built on acceptance and unconditional love. And perhaps the most radical and most understated example of Ghibli's philosophy about love is one that barely gets focused on at all. Osono and her husband in Kiki's delivery service are so wonderfully normal, so beautifully ordinary. They bicker gently, work together in the bakery, worry about their coming baby, and show Kiki, without ever spelling it out, what secure love actually looks like in practice. Love anchored in routine and small daily kindnesses. People tend to forget that secure love often looks a lot like boredom, filled with simple, repeated gestures. Osono and her husband represent something Disney almost never shows: love after the fairy tale ends. Love as partnership in everyday life. These two ways of telling love stories have real consequences for us, and that's where we need to be honest. Disney's approach creates very powerful expectations. The idea that love will be obvious, overwhelming, and instantly transformative. That the right person will solve your problems and complete your story. These ideas can be genuinely inspiring, and they have real value, but they can also lead to serious disappointment when real relationships require patience, compromise, and daily effort that nobody particularly wants to put in. And in today's world, you can see this effect everywhere. People walking away from relationships the moment the initial passion fades, convinced that means they picked the wrong person. People waiting to be struck by lightning rather than building something solid. People confusing intensity with depth and obsession with love. The argument that these are just kids' movies doesn't really hold up either, because children aren't stupid. They absorb everything like sponges. What they absorb from a very young age about what love is supposed to look like, what they should expect from relationships, what they should be willing to sacrifice for love, that stays with them for a very long time. So why not also show them that real love involves communication, compromise, and daily choice? That love can exist in many forms, and that sometimes the greatest love isn't the one that lasts forever, but the one that changes who you are most deeply. Ghibli proves that you can tell sophisticated stories about love that children genuinely understand and adults deeply appreciate. Ghibli films aren't designed for a specific age. They're designed for everyone. But does all of this mean Ghibli understands love better? Largely yes, but not entirely. Here's why. If love is supposed to inspire us, give us hope, remind us that beautiful things are possible, Disney is unbeatable. Its love stories are pure emotional storytelling. They're designed to make us believe in magic, in destiny, and in the power of true love. And in a world that can feel exhausting and disappointing, that kind of reminder has genuine value. But if love is supposed to show us how to actually live with other people, how to care, compromise, and grow together through difficulty, Ghibli has no equal. Its relationships feel real because they're built on the small daily choices that actually create intimacy and trust. The truth is, we need both. Disney love reminds us to never stop dreaming big, to love passionately and without holding back, and that a life can be bigger and more beautiful than we ever imagined. Ghibli love reminds us of the work required to build something stable and healthy over time, the patience, the growth, and the acceptance that real people come with complications, contradictions, and needs that change. Our own relationships should carry both. The grandeur and the beauty of a romance that sweeps us off our feet, and the long stretches of choosing to love someone even when it is hard, boring, or just plain routine. If we are honest about which approach actually prepares us to love in the real world, which one teaches us how to love and be loved in ways that last, Ghibli wins, without hesitation. Real love is not just the spark, it is tending the fire. It is not just the wedding, it is the marriage. It is not just falling in love, it is choosing to love someone today, tomorrow, and the day after that. Ghibli shows both with rare skill, the passion and the patient daily love, together. Disney may have taught us to dream about love. Ghibli teaches us how to live it. Maybe that is the lesson we needed all along, that real love is not something that happens to us. It is something we do, something we choose, and something we practice every single day, in ways both magical and beautifully, wonderfully ordinary. So tell me in the comments, do you think the films you watched as a kid shaped the way you see love and relationships? And which approach, Disney or Ghibli, feels closer to what love actually looks like in your own life?